Olá, eu sou Jorge Pinheiro Castelo, presidente da Comissão de Direito do Trabalho da OAB de São Paulo, mais um evento internacional aqui da Comissão, oportunizado pelo professor Freitas, que é o coordenador de Direito Internacional, pela professora Adriana, que é a coordenadora de Direito Individual, que vai participar dessa entrevista, com o professor Araki, que é o professor da Universidade de Tóquio, que gentilmente está nos possibilitando a realização dessa entrevista para uma análise, um confronto entre Brasil e Japão, no que diz respeito às relações de trabalho. Muito obrigado e vamos começar a entrevista.
Caros colegas, é uma oportunidade ímpar contar com a presença do professor Takashi Araki, professor da Universidade de Tóquio, aqui entre nós em São Paulo, e falando para os colegas da Ordem dos Advogados do Brasil, da Seção de São Paulo, da Comissão Especial de Direito do Trabalho. É uma alegria poder contar com a presença dele e, sobretudo, eu gostaria de destacar, é um momento muito importante porque o Japão, em 2018, passou por uma importante mudança legislativa e, de algum modo, vem experimentando uma série de mudanças legais no campo do direito do trabalho e no campo da litigância trabalhista. É uma grande satisfação, portanto, conter aqui o professor Takashi Araki. Professor Takashi Araki, it's a great honor and happiness to have you here. So, the first thing I would like to ask you if we are very curious about what should be the main subject of the legal change, of the 2018 legal change in the Japanese labor law.
It's my great honor and privilege to be interviewed by Lawyers Association in São Paulo. Yes, you are right. In 2018, we had new law, which is called Work Style Reform Law. This Work Style Reform Law deals with two problems in which a Japanese employment system are facing. The first problem is long working hours among regular employees. Regular workers are those workers who are hired by open-ended contract and work for full-time and employed by the employer directly. And they are well-protected workers in Japanese society, but the problem is their working hours are very long. These long working hours are not only problematic to male workers, but also to the female workers. Under the Japanese law, female workers are given the same opportunity to engage in work. But in reality, many female workers bear the family responsibilities. Even if female workers are given the same opportunity to engage in work, they cannot engage in long working hours that male workers are now providing. Therefore, if male workers working long working hours will not be reduced, it is impossible for female workers to be successful in their employment in the workplace. And also in 2016, we have a very shocking case in Japan. A female employee who are the graduate from Tokyo University entered Dentsu, which is the most prestigious advertising company. And after the very exhausted working environment, she committed a suicide within 1 year after her employment. And this was the second case of suicide from overworking. So this became a very big social scandal in the Japanese society. Next year, the mother of this lady had a press conference to notify the public that her daughter's death was regarded as work-related accident. So Dentsu, this big corporation, was severely criticized by the Japanese society. Then, after the 3 months of the press conference, the president of Dentsu was forced to resign, taking responsibility for the recurrence of suicide from overwork. until this case, management side strongly opposed to the strengthening of overtime regulations. But after this Dentsu case, management side conceded to accept set the maximum limit of overtime work. Previously, there was no upper limit on overtime hours, but because of this 2018 revision, Japanese law set 720 hours per year maximum, and also 100 hours per month maximum. The second issue is the protection, to strengthen the protection of non-standard employees. The ratio, the portion of non-standard workers in Japan is increasing. In 1990, the ratio of non-standard employees in the Japanese workforce was 20%. But last year, in 2018, the ratio rise up to 37% in the total workforce in Japan. And their employment status is very unstable because non-standard employees are usually hired by fixed-term contracts. They can be easily terminated at the end of the agreed term. Another problem of non-standard employees is their working conditions are much inferior to regular employees. To address these problems, 2018 law introduced equal work, equal pay rules as a principle. But it is very difficult to apply this rule, equal work, equal pay rules, because in Japanese society, wages are not determined by the job, but wages are determined by considering many other factors. For example, ages, length of service, family structure, etc. So, how to apply this equal pay for equal work is very controversial. So, new law requires employer to provide not unreasonable differences between standard and non-standard employees. So, new law norm is prohibition of unreasonable differences between regular and non-regular workers. But this new norm is very vague because what is unreasonable is very difficult to determine. So the Japanese government issued a guideline on equal work, equal pay rules. If employer establishes a rule on wages, both applies to the regular and non-regular workers, then different treatment is prohibited because wage rule is the same to both regular and non-regular workers. But our problem in Japanese society is employer differentiate the rules of wages between standard and non-standard workers. So this guideline helps nothing, provide no help. As for the question, what happened when the wage rules are different between standard and non-standard? The guideline just answered, in that case, the difference must not be unreasonable, considering various situations. So this is very vague answer and does not help the practitioner. So it is very important to rectify the very huge unreasonable gap between regular and non-regular workers. But the new law provides new problems, how to determine the unreasonable differences. So it is up to the court's interpretation in the future. Currently, Japanese unemployment rate is just 2.4%. So employment relationship in Japan is very good, but still we have some problems. The problem is long working hours of regular workers and huge gap between regular and non-regular workers. So this new law enacted last year. So last year's enactment of work style reform law is very important step to deal with these problems. but still there are many rooms for the further discussion, and we have to wait how court will interpret new law. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Araki. Just a final question about courts, because we have a huge amount of litigation in labor courts in Brazil. And most of the Brazilians think and suppose that we have labor courts just in Brazil. But I ask you, do you have labor courts, I mean, courts specialized in labor issues in Japan?
Okay. Actually, previously we didn't have special labor court, but in 2006 we newly invented a special forum called Labor Tribunal. This is the equivalent organization of labor court in other countries. So the bench consists of 3 parties, 1 professional judge and 2 lay judges who are recommended by labor unions and management organization. And the feature of this procedure is very speedy disposal of the cases. Within 3 sessions, that means almost 2 months and a half, the tribunal have to hand down the decision. Workers can bring the case to the ordinary court, but it will take more than 1 year. Average period was 14 months to have a final decision from the first instance court. Compared to 14 months procedures, this 2 months and a half procedure is a very, very speedy one and helps ordinary worker to bring the case to the labor tribunal. Mm-hmm. And this new labor tribunal system was very much highly appreciated, not only by employee, but also employer, and also professional judges. This will help the very speedy disposition of the cases, and every party are very much satisfied with the disposition of the case.
So thank you very much, Professor Takashi. Bom, como nós vimos, as considerações e as explicações detalhadas do nosso convidado, professor Takashi, servem de referência para que nós possamos fazer um balanço acerca das inquietações e dos desafios de mudança e de aperfeiçoamento da legislação do trabalho no Brasil. Questões como o que fazer com Corte de Justiça, como dar mais eficiência e eficácia à proteção dos trabalhadores que não são empregados em vínculos por prazo indeterminado, como assegurar efetividade nas regras de igualdade de gênero, de igualdade de oportunidade, enfim, nós temos realidades absolutamente distintas sobre muitos aspectos, mas nós temos muitos desafios em comuns. E a vinda do professor Takashi é um momento singular para que nós possamos refletir sobre isso e tirar as conclusões sobre caminhos e possibilidades de mudança. Muito obrigado, professor. Thank you again.